I'm so pleased to have Filippo Bof, the Head of Business Development for Africa at Shell Trading and Shipping Company. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Miriam. Thanks to you.
The role of traders seems to have become more central in supporting the development of upstream assets and the acquisition of independence. How do you see these investment opportunities, and what are your key considerations when arranging a facility?
So in recent years, we have seen a number of clear trends in the oil and gas market, in the credit and capital raising. The first one, we have seen a lowering availability of debt. A number of institutions have left the oil and gas market, but also on the equity side, we have seen a reduction, especially for small and mid-cap companies. So it has become more difficult to raise capital when you want to close a transaction, whether it's an acquisition or just raising capex for a development of an asset. Traders have been called in very often, especially again in the last couple of years, to bridge that gap. And I think traders are well positioned for that for a number of reasons. First one is they have a leaner mandate than traditional lenders, so the flexibility is very much needed in this context. And second, also, they do have access to the commercial contracts with the borrower, whether it's an offtake or a supply, if it's a refinery. And so the incremental value enable them to be more risk taker also on the financing, which again is needed when there is a shortage. One point which is important to flag is that traders have become more active lenders, so they take again an active role in structuring the facilities, and that is also in the form of, for example, coordinating consortia of bidder if there is an acquisition. So we have been working and combining different parties to bid for the same asset, and that has proved valuable because, for example, you combine a local company with an international one, and the local company will bring the local knowledge of the market. The international one can bring additional funding capacity as well as track record in operation. So those are examples of how traders can lead the structuring of deals.
And do traders have geographical preferences when assessing investments compared to banks and financial institutions?
I think traders tend to have a pragmatic approach in this. So country risk, the geography is very much part of the assessment of transaction, but unless there are major red flags like compliance, then it's rare that an opportunity is dropped because of the country. If instead you look at, for example, development financial institution, unless that country is a member of that DFI, they are not allowed to lend to producer in that country, or banks. They like to have operations in a country in order to justify financing there. Traders don't have those restrictions, and so this incremental flexibility allows them to lend more, so to more geographies, to more producers, which means the investment portfolio is more differentiated. And that means also the risk, because the more you spread your risk, the more you reduce your risk. And so if at portfolio level you are the risk, it means that at individual levels, when you look at a single opportunity, you can take a little bit more risk. And that's where the more compelling opportunities from traders come from.
And how can traders support the development of gas projects?
So gas has become more and more important. We have seen more independence basically handling gas projects. That wasn't the case 5 to 10 years ago. That's because, first of all, we have seen many divestment from oil majors, and usually when they sell big asset, there's always a gas component. So you see independence all of a sudden almost inheriting a gas opportunity. And also we have seen some good, diligent, independent that grew over time, both organically and inorganically, and they also develop gas projects. So for our traders, when we fund independent companies, we cannot just ignore the gas element. We need to find a way to support that one as well. That can be done in a number of ways. So for example, considering the gas component in the borrowing base of a loan. When we structure a loan, we consider also that economic value. Even if the trader is not lifting the gas, we still assess that as a source of debt, basically. If you work with Shell Trading or another integrated company, we can always bring our gas colleagues, our gas marketing colleague, LNG colleague, or even our upstream gas colleagues to support a company and find a solution for that. And finally, I think we spoke about the lack of credit in the market. We spent quite a bit of time to widen our network of lenders, and so we work with some lenders that like funding gas. They might not like funding oil, but then we can help to bring the right lender also to support gas facilities.
And how do you think the support from traders to indigenous companies will evolve over time?
I think we see a growing number of M&A opportunities, especially in Africa, a lot of divestments from majors where the natural buyers are independent companies. We see more independent companies coming up, but we see less capital available. So you can see this widening gap. And so the role of traders, which has become already quite central in the last couple of years, I think it will probably become even more central going forward. So if you ask me, for the coming years, I expect traders to take an even more central role. But then it's not just about, writing bigger checks. It's actually about taking a bigger role in the structuring. I mentioned before the consortia and the leading of the engineering of consortia, but I think also logistics has become quite important. So we spend quite a bit of time in working with logistic companies, freight companies to arrange the crude evacuation or the export terminals. That's something we didn't used to do, but now we very much support companies in that as well.
And just my final question, what key outcomes are you hoping to achieve here at African Energy Week?
Well, I think it's a great conference, very well attended. And so it's a great place to meet all the customers, peers, colleagues, but also prospective customers. Already in a couple of days, I met quite a few companies that I didn't know before, and hopefully we'll do business with them. So yeah, great place.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Miriam.